Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today for you guys is another episode of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 6 review. Now first and foremost, this is going to be a huge spoiler warning. If you have not seen episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett, or if you just don't care about spoilers, do not watch this video. Go watch the episode and then come back to this review, because holy crap, a lot of stuff happens. So, I guess I'll start out with the negatives. So, the Book of Boba Fett kind of started slow. It started with Boba Fett kind of in the back of the tank and trying to, the tube, whatever, and trying to essentially gather his strength while telling the past story of his life with the Tusken Raiders after getting out of the Sarlacc pit. And then a bunch of stuff happens, and now we're in the present day, and there's the whole Pike Syndicate and the Spice Runners and all this stuff. And episode 5 kind of took a bit of a dip where we literally went to the Mandalorian, Din Djarin. We went to his story. We went to, oh, Grogu's going to be back and all that. And episode 5 was really not an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. It was an episode of Mandalorian Season 3 before Season 3 came out. That was my biggest negative. It was a great episode, but it didn't feel like an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Boba Fett wasn't even freaking in that episode. And he's barely in this one either. That's my only negative, is that this feels... There's so many positives, but the only negative would have to be that Boba Fett is in it for maybe 2 or 3 shots, and he doesn't say a darn word. And that's kind of annoying, because, imagine watching a Ninjago season and none of the ninja are in it. Or imagine watching a SpongeBob special and none of the SpongeBob characters are in it. Imagine watching freaking Hawkeye, the last episode, and Hawkeye's not even in it. You know what I mean? That's how it feels. This does not feel like an episode of the Book of Boba Fett at all. And I get what they're doing. They're trying to set it up, and Mandalorian's doing this, but it doesn't work. You know what I mean? As an episode of the Book of Boba Fett, does not fit in. However, the episode itself is probably the best in terms of how it was made, and one of the best episodes of Star Wars television ever. Again, spoilers. So we get the return of Ahsoka Tano, very effing cool. Rosario Dawson's back. Of course, she is going to be getting her own TV show. Ahsoka looks awesome. Same as Mandalorian Season 2. It's great to see her back. We get Cad Bane. Literally, that was like a holy crap moment. I didn't say crap, because Cad Bane is a big bounty hunter character in the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch. And to see him in this show, live action, he looks effing phenomenal. He looks so freaking good. The hat, everything, it's fantastic. I love the design of Cad Bane in live action. I'm so glad they did that. Cobb Vanth, apparently he gets shot by the blaster by Cad Bane. I don't know if he dies. He looks pretty effing dead, but we don't know. He could still be alive. I have no idea. But lots of stuff happens with Cad Bane, which is pretty neat. I guess the area where most Eisley kind of explodes, that happens, and they're like, hey, the Pikes, you didn't pay your tab. Huge explosion. And then, of course, we get to the biggest element of this episode, which is, of course, the Mandalorian giving that little, treasure item to Grogu. And, of course, we see the return of Luke Skywalker. Now, we saw Luke Skywalker in the very last episode of The Mandalorian Season 2, and it was some of the best CGI de-aging CGI I've ever seen in my entire life. It looked freaking flawless. And I have to admit, in this episode, they outdid themselves. Disney, Lucasfilm, holy crap. Mark Hamill, I believe he still provided the voice of Luke, but the actual design of Luke in this, the CGI, the de-aging process, is so flawless, I cannot tell. And I'm a big stickler. I can tell when I'm watching an MCU movie or whatever, I can tell when something is CGI. When a character jumps or moves or whatever, I can tell. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but at the end of the day, I can tell. I really couldn't tell. Maybe the lips were a little blurry, but honestly, this was some of the most flawless CGI. I mean, that was up there with Thanos and Snoke and Gollum and the Hobbit, all of the Lord of the Rings, all that stuff. It looks so effing flawless. I cannot believe, I was smiling, like, just watching Grogu on his back, and they're training in the jungle planet or whatever. It looks fantastic. Of course, we get some prequel references with Ahsoka mentioning Anakin. We have, of course, the Naboo Starfighter, which is from the prequels, and then we get some sequel references. So all the fake fans and haters out there saying, this is the Filoni-verse! This is the Dave Filoni-verse! No, it's not. It's not the Dave Filoni-verse, you dumb apple. It's literally the same effing canon as the prequels, originals, and sequels. If you can't understand that, I'm sorry, you're stupid, but that's the reality of the situation. This is literally the same canon. And to see Luke building the little, stone hut that we see in the comics where Ben Solo is being trained, where Ben Solo turns into Kylo Ren and butchers everyone and gets the Knights of Ren, that's this planet. And that's effing incredible that they're able to do that. They don't mention Ben, because I don't know if Ben's born in this time, but it really is interesting to see that. I mean, the connections to the sequels is fantastic. I was freaking out. So, My biggest question with Grogu at the end, regarding, Luke presents him with Yoda's lightsaber, which I'm not really sure how they got that, and I'm sure they'll explain it in a comic or whatever, but he goes, okay, Grogu, I'm going to give you the lightsaber, or I give you the Mandalorian's armor that he forges from the armor, on that planet from Episode 5. You get to choose, and Grogu, we do not see him choose. I'm assuming, now this is just me, I have read the Kylo Ren comics, and I've read a lot of the sequel comics, and in some of those comics, we do see Luke, around this age, with the hair and all that, the same guy as in this episode, training Ben Solo and all the other students. However, if you've noticed, Grogu is not in those comics. Either Grogu was not invented at the time, whatever, you have to roll with the punches. Just like the originals, the prequels weren't out at that time, so they had to kind of, rework some things. But Grogu either A, was not just seriously, freaking Dave Filoni or whoever didn't come up with the idea of Grogu at the time when this comic was made, but still, they can't they can't be like, oh, well, he was there, you just didn't see him. No, Grogu is not there during the time when Luke is training Ben and the students. So, that either means A, Grogu's going to just have to die, to make the essence for Snoke and all that, the tube guy and Mando, or, my most opinion, Grogu is going to choose the armor, and he's going to go with Din Djarin forever and ever, that they're going to be buddies forever. Grogu is going to completely abandon the Jedi ways, and he's going to go with Din Djarin. That is my theory. Now, the important thing with theories is that you can't let them ruin the experience, because that's what happened with the sequels. A lot of people were like, Snoke is this, Rey is this, Snoke is Jar Jar Binks, Rey is my dog, Rey dog, and then when it didn't happen, they threw a bitch fit and they went, this sucks! That's what they do. So, I'm not an idiot. I can say till the cows come home, Grogu's gonna get the armor and live with Mando. That might not happen. He might choose the lightsaber and they whatever. I'm not gonna freak out because I'm not stupid. But at the same time, if you really were to ask me, I do think that's what's gonna happen. I truly think Grogu's gonna choose the armor, go with Mando, because again, in the comics, Grogu is not present when Luke is training Ben at that time, and that's relatively close-ish to this time period. So, who knows what's going to happen, but I think it's really interesting. It ties in with the prequels, it ties in with the sequels in great ways. Again, I hate that Dave Filoni verse because it's not, it's literally the same canon as the Skywalker saga. People are just dumb and they're in denial about stuff, but whatever, you do what you do, I guess. But I think that this was the best episode in terms of production value, the design, the shot composition, the editing, the way that was, shot, like I said, the writing, the acting, everything, the action scenes, which we haven't seen that many, but it was still really cool to see Ahsoka back, Luke back, with some of the most flawless CGI I've ever seen in my entire life. Grogu's back, training in the ways of the Jedi, so to speak. Cad Bane is here. Cobb Vanth was there. This really felt like it was like an amalgamation of everything awesome about the show and this franchise, except that really Boba Fett wasn't effing in it, really. So, and that's kind of sad, because there's only one more episode left of the Book of Boba Fett, and he really wasn't in 5 at all, and he's barely in this one. So, like I said, I love everything about it, but my only negative is that Boba was barely in it. And when you compare the first 4 episodes of this show, which is about Boba and the, Fennec Shan and the Pikes and Tatooine and the all these things happening and the Tusken flashbacks, and that's basically completely gone here, and it's really replaced with more Mandalorian filler content, which is great because I love the Mandalorian. It's a bit overrated, but I love the show, and I love Luke, I love Ahsoka, I love Grogu, I love Cad Bane, I love all that stuff. But at the same time, for a Boba Fett episode, it really didn't feel like it. Again, it felt like more of a Mandalorian Season 3 type thing, which we're still getting, but, it's kind of weird. So anyway, we have one more episode left of this show. Hopefully Boba Fett's in it. It's kind of weird, that's my only negative, is that it feels tonally out of shape. It's like, okay, the first 4 is about Boba Fett. And then in the same show, the rest is about that. It doesn't make any thematic sense. And I get it, they're trying to tie it all together in Mandalorian, they're helping him and all that, but I'm not an idiot. But at the same time, it does feel out of place. Anyway, in terms of an actual episode, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I thought it was very good, my favorite of the episodes so far in terms of what we've seen. However, compared to Boba Fett, I can't really give this a high score in terms of that side because Boba Fett's barely in it, so I'd have to give that like a 3 or 4 because from this show, it makes no freaking sense to have this episode in there. If you get what I'm saying, I'm not hating, I'm just directly telling you. This really doesn't have anything to do with Boba Fett in terms of, he's there and he goes, That's all he does. He just stands there. He doesn't effing say anything. So hopefully the last episode is going to be a bit longer. This was only about 47 minutes, but I'm expecting the final episode to be big-ass action scene, basically, between Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, and Fennec Shand. Everyone's going to be in this, and hopefully they tie it all together, you know what I mean? It's going to be awesome, but again, the stuff we got in this episode was fantastic and easily the best of the show. But in terms of Boba Fett being in it and this Boba Fett show, really not too crack shot. Anyway, tell me in the comments without spoiling, because this is a major spoiler episode down below. I cannot wait for the Book of Boba Fett episode, what is this, 7, and hopefully, or 6 or 6, yeah, 7. Hopefully they actually have Boba Fett in it next time, but it was still a great episode. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.